Okay, so this project, this quantitative inquiry, this was meant to be a presentation, so I'm just going to talk about it really quickly so that it's displayed in the way that it was meant to be. This was a project we did first or second term where we were asked to do a research project. So in this case, we did a survey of students on campus, and this was about vegetarianism. So I'll just go through these slides really quick. The first one is basically our argument. Why should we be vegetarian? And this is based off a really good article by Peter Wenz, basically saying that ecosystems are valuable, and if ecosystems have value, then we have a moral reason to not destroy them. And then one way that we can reduce our impact on ecosystems is to promote the health of healthy ecosystems, and a way to do that is to become a vegetarian. And basically, cultivating land is just very detrimental for the ecosystem, and so by not having to cultivate land in order to feed livestock, we're doing less damage. The next slide goes on a little bit more just about some facts about what's wrong with eating meat. Some notable ones. Livestock production is responsible for 14.5% of the world's greenhouse gases. Ruminants, which are cows and sheep, anything with a double stomach, they also generate methane and nitrous oxide, which are 23 times and 296 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. Let's see. Raising livestock in the US also requires 10 times more crops to be grown in order to feed those animals. We use 70% of our arable land, and that's 30% of the total land surface, in order to raise animals. Let's see, what else? Yeah, there's some other stuff in here. Also, very, very big on water pollution. Raising livestock is a really big factor in that. So 89,000 pounds of manure produced worldwide per second, and all that gets washed into waterways because it's not properly disposed. And total, the US alone slaughters 10 billion animals a year, which is a crazy amount. And on top of that, animals have to be transported from farm to feedlot to slaughterhouse. They have to be slaughtered, refrigerated, distributed, so all of that is adding to the total fossil fuel amount. And so what we did for the actual project is we wanted to know, one, how students feel about being vegetarian, and two, how students feel about living on a vegetarian campus, or if not a campus, just a single vegetarian food court. So basically, if we could turn the Victor's food court into a vegetarian food court, how people would feel about that. So the first slide here, we just asked, are you a vegetarian or vegan, just as kind of a control. 5 people out of the total 34 people we asked said yes, so just to give you an idea there. How many times a week do you eat at Victor's? The average meal a week was 8.5, so people eat there a lot, or at least the people we asked. How would you feel if Victor's was a vegetarian food court? It seemed that people were either very for this or very against it. We had a lot of people who were really not into that, but at the same time, those people that we asked who were vegetarians or who were healthier and wanted more healthy options, those people said that they were more in favor of it. We actually had very few people or less people that were neutral. It was mostly people outliers who either were very for or very against. And then on top of that, we asked how many times a week would you eat at Victor's if it was vegetarian. So again, the graph has kind of grown steeper. Some people say that they would eat less, others would eat more. So the average meals total went down, but at the same time, there were people who would eat more. Then, in addition, we also wanted to ask if Vector served half the amount of meat as it serves now, how would people feel about that? Because that could still make a very big impact, but it would still maybe not discourage those people who like meat to eat there. And here we had some more scattered results. So 3 and 10 received the most votes. So some people, or actually a lot of people, really, really liked that idea. And then there were a lot of people also who kind of felt not too sure about that. But overall, it looks like the majority of people, or maybe not the majority, but at least half the people feel either neutral or pro having half meat at Victor's. And so when we asked them how many meals a week would you eat at Victor's if they served half the meat, we had almost the same average as the original control, which is a really good sign. So that's saying that people will still eat there. They're not going to be impacted too much by that. Maybe some people will eat there less when there's no meat, but at the same time, a lot of people are going to be eating there just as much. Some comments that we received while doing the survey, some people straight up said, I love meat. Some people said, Victor's isn't very good anyway, so it doesn't matter. One guy said, don't make Victor's worse by making it vegetarian. That's not too encouraging. One person said I would use more meal points because the food would be more healthy if it was a vegetarian food court. So yeah, like I said, some people who are looking for healthier options feel that that would be very positive. I'm not going to read that next one. And a vegetarian food court would motivate me to be healthier. So again, saying that maybe this would give more healthy options, maybe be a more positive thing for the school. So our final results, most people seemed fairly opinionated on one side or the other. A lot of people love meat and they want to eat meat. Some people also liked health benefits that might come with being vegetarian food court, and so they were into that. Overall, the half meat test was very similar to the control test, which is very encouraging, saying that we could cut down on our meat consumption by a lot and still encourage people to eat there, still have the same amount at least of people eat there. And what this would do, what this would bring PSU, the reward that we'd get from reducing our meat consumption, so 1 pound, to produce 1 pound of beef, it requires 13 to 21 pounds of grain and 2,400 gallons of water. So if you can think about how many students we have at PSU and multiply those numbers by how much meat people eat a week at Victor's. So if we could even half that amount, just imagine how much water and how much grain we'd be saving. That could really, really make a big impact. So say there are approximately 5,000 freshmen. In a hypothetical scenario where half the freshmen, minus the vegetarians, eat red meat once a day. Oh, sorry, red meat once a day in Victor's. So if we have that, that's 375 pounds of meat. That's 900,000 gallons of water a day. 4,590 kilograms of greenhouse gases. 4,875 pounds of grain lost as animal feed. And so if we reduce this meat consumption by half, that would be the equivalent of 5,584 less miles driven in the average car, 26,471 fewer showers, or 281,250 fewer toilet flushes, and 39,000 servings of grain. So that is just huge numbers of things that we could be reducing, living more sustainably. So overall, I feel that this could be a very, very positive thing, even if we do have a little negative feedback. So overall, I think this was maybe a very positive example. I think that this isn't conclusive evidence that this is what PSU should do, but I think it's a very intriguing thought that PSU should definitely consider.